So today on Simply Happy Conversations, I'm talking with Sarah. She's a professional organizer and she has been helping people to get out of clutter since 2016. And I'm terrible with numbers, so I have to look because I couldn't remember the year.
2006.
2006, sorry.
Yes, so it's nearly 20 years. Yeah.
20 years. Welcome, Sarah.
Yeah, I've been around for a while now, so I know a thing or two.
You do, definitely around professional organising. And your business is both for professional organising, yourself doing some, but also is that professional organisers and helping us, people like me, who are newer to the business. But tell us something that you like to do in your free time.
Oh, free time. So I love spending time with the family. So we have 3 grown-up children, and I will spend as much time with them as they will let me. So they've turned into really decent human beings, which I'm thrilled about, and they're incredibly likable and lovely. Love spending time in the garden, and I go for a walk every single morning, almost every single morning. I'm about 99% accurate. We have a Kelpie cross blue heeler that loves to spend time just walking and running around. So yeah.
They're busy. And are any of the children still living at home with you?
Yeah, we've got one right at the moment, and I'm looking around a little bit here, just so you know why I'm sounding slightly distracted, because I think she's just about to go to work. She's a paramedic.
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I've actually got a sign out there for my son to say I'm on a podcast, because he'll race in after school and be like, what are you doing?
Yeah, but surely when you have that sign, it's like it's waving a red flag. Come and disturb me as soon as possible.
No. If I put it there, I'm way better off than not having it there at all.
Well trained, yeah.
So how did you get into professional organising?
So I have ADHD, and I'm always happy to talk about it because I really struggled. I was organised at work, but was not organised at home. And as each child came along, it became increasingly difficult to stay on top of things at home. And by the time the 3rd one came along, I had an epiphany, which anybody organised will probably shake their head when they hear this, but anybody who's disorganised will get it. I had the epiphany that if things needed to change, I needed to be the one that created that change. So typical ADHD fashion, did a bit of research, went down some rather interesting avenues, and then realised it starts with me, and the way I want to be organised at home may be different to other people. And so I needed to take charge at home. And once I was organised, I thought, I've got the kids organised, I have work organised, I've got house organised. I no longer feel useless and helpless, because I really, really did. It's about time I share this gift, mostly with people that want it, but sometimes with those who may not be quite so willing participants.
And so, sorry, I cut you off.
So it was probably 2004, I started to really think about what should I be doing. My background is contracts management and financial control. What can I do? What should I be doing? And unfortunately, my father had been unwell and he died. So I needed to fill up some time with something that was something I could look forward to. And over the next couple of years, just started looking around, how shall I do this? And thinking I'm the only one that was, becoming a professional organizer. And one day just made that decision, went out, registered the business name, and wrote, as an absolute godsend, wrote out all my processes and procedures. And anyone who has ADHD will get this. You don't just instantly do it. So it really was a godsend. Just wrote everything out that afternoon. And it was like it was written for me rather than from my hand. And that's when I started. And because I'd had small business experience, when you meld the two things together, the passion for what you want to do and helping others, and then the experience of small business, the two things went very well together to start the business that I have.
And this was in Australia as well?
This is Australia, but I have worked right around the world, which is rather nice.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And so
I feel a little conscious of saying that, but it interestingly, the things that we have in common as humankind around the world, there's that we have in common with disorganisation and overwhelm as well.
Oh, that's interesting. It's interesting to know that. Yeah.
It's fascinating.
Isn't it? So with the other side then of your business, which is you helping people like myself, professional organisers, how did you get into that? And how do you help them get into organising?
So it actually started quite quickly after I'd started the organising business. And that was, I joined together with a few organisers locally, and they were asking me how I was doing things, how are you getting clients? How do you stay on top of things? How do you manage your appointments? What sort of clients do you have? When you go there, what sort of services do you provide? And I just kept thinking, oh, I don't know, you just do it. Just very ADHD. You just go ahead and do it. You make your mistakes and hopefully you don't make major ones on your clients, but you just go ahead and do it. And then I started to realize, okay, people are asking the same questions. So I decided to turn that into a little mentoring service and would go ahead and have some little coffee chats. And the organisers were all asking similar questions. So I thought, okay, recognising patterns, which is a gift we have.
Yeah.
They're asking the same questions. They want the same information. So I started to create just an outline of a document. What would it be like if I ran a training on this? And that literally is where it started. And that was 2009. Wow. So I ran the first training with the manual all printed up and feeling very excited and very scared at the end of 2009, and got tremendous feedback. And my default position is, oh, they must be wrong, or they mustn't have done anything before. But the response continues to be very positive. And I'm answering the questions, particularly for newbies that come along to the training courses. I'm answering the questions that they want to ask, or they've tried to work out for themselves and they haven't found the answer. Because what I find is people are coming into the business with a passion to help people, a passion and an understanding of, if you are organised and if you get things sorted and systematic at home, life can be much more pleasurable. So with that passion, they start the business without the thought of, how will I run the business? When I offer a service, how will I be able to actually front up with that? What do I put in place to make sure that I'm protected? And what do I put in place to make sure that my would-be clients are protected as well? And so it all started off with that. And that's then moved on to, I do quite a lot of mentoring with, I don't know quite what the term is. I go between veteran organisers and then there's old organisers, which doesn't sound too good. It sounds like they're on the way out, and I suppose I could be an old organiser. So veteran, master, but those that have been in business for a while, especially after COVID, we've all had a very difficult time, and I think there's still a lot of fallout from that. Trying to get back into perhaps the way things were, but the world's changed and we have changed, and sometimes we have a new normal with that.
Yeah. And did you find, so when you started your courses, were they in person? They weren't, or were they online?
Oh, no, they're in person, and that's purely a selfish measure on my part.
Yeah.
I love people. I love to have discussions. I sometimes like to take things maybe a little too far, asking a question and then making it probably a little difficult. What happens if this, terrible thing happens? So they're face to face, and I always keep the groups very small. They're designed that way so that the participant comes in, immediately starts to engage and ask the questions they want to, creating a very safe space, because we all feel like the question that we're just about to ask is a silly question, and that nobody else would ask something as ridiculous as that. And as soon as that person asks that question safely, you will see all the other participants going, oh, thank goodness she asked that. Yeah. I'm so glad they asked that. So keep them small. It would be a very rare day to have any more than 8 in those groups.
Yeah. And so did this also lead into your involvement in the IPO? I'm terrible with initials.
IOPO, Institute of Professional Organisers.
Yes.
Yeah, so we found ourselves 2017, late 2016, that there were a lot of organisers basically with no united, inclusive space to be in. And I think particularly with, even though I've been an organiser for 20 years, it's considered an emerging industry. So in an emerging industry, you need to stick together, and there needs to be standards that are created to make sure that we're all singing, singing from the same hymn book. I think I've mixed my metaphors, but something where we can raise professional standards, somewhere where potential homeowners that want to be organised can go knowing and understanding the type of product and service that they're going to get. So the Institute of Professional Organisers started in 2017. So we've just celebrated 6 years. There's a board of advisors. There are 7 of us. Very, very enthusiastic women and professional organisers across Australia and New Zealand, which are mainly the organisers that we represent. 99% female that we deal with mainly. So we would love a few more blokes because you can add a different dynamic in the mix when you've got a bloke around.
Oh, wouldn't that be great to have that? That comment.
They come and they go. I don't know if they're intimidated by, a huge amount of women. There's been some good strapping lads in that have contributed enormously to the conversation. But IOPO was established to basically advocate for professional organisers to make sure that we're an established industry with standards and with pesky little things like insurance policies that actually represent and cover us for what we actually do as organisers. So I'm busy.
You are very busy. And as a member, I love the group and the association because I feel really supported and am able to go and ask those silly questions or any questions and don't feel judged, and just have had an amazing amount of support, because sometimes there are tricky situations that come up, and it's great to have a group to be able to share and talk with other people who relate to the situations that you've gone through, because generally someone has had something along the same lines happen to them too.
And I think it's really important, while most professional organising businesses, and I'm certainly not saying all, because there is a growing trend now, and has been for the last 3 years, for these to turn into not one person micro businesses, but actually established business with the employees. And we need somewhere where, if we're feeling isolated as a business person in a profession, we need somewhere to go and ask those questions. Because sometimes, I'll go away from a job and think, I think I did a good job. What could I have done better? I want to improve. I need to ask a question. And for me particularly, I love to talk. So being able to actually have a conversation, not just, feed it into a machine and get a machine response, but to listen to the wealth of experience and skill in that group and say, what would you have done? How would you have handled that better? Is there something that you can see that I could do to improve that service? Or possibly, is there something that you could see that I should not do again?
Yeah, definitely. Yes, I completely agree with you. So what about so we'll just move on to your third role then that you've got, is your role on Channel 9 TV show Space Invaders. So how did that come about, and what was your role on the show? Is there a new series about to come out?
Yes, I'm not going to be involved in the next one. So there's mixed feelings. The team are amazing, and I've worked with the fabulous Mr. Walsh for quite a few years now. I think maybe 11 or 12. Delightfully, Peter asked me if I would be involved, which is a very nice situation to be in. The role on the show was as an organiser, overseeing the items coming out of the house, going back into the house, making sure that nothing got lost on the way, having a look at organising solutions, what sort of storage solutions, that's where my passion is.
Yep.
What sort of solutions can we do for the homeowners? And it is a very different way of organising. So when we go as professional organisers to a client's home, we're looking generally at what the situation is now and how they would like it to be. And you're working within a budget. And sometimes that budget is very small, which is absolutely fine, because as professional organisers, we're also resourceful. So what is it that we can use or repurpose? Working on the TV show, you've got time limits. It has to be done in a specific time. You are not working on your own and making decisions on your own. You're working in a team, and that can be up to 30 people. So, even having the items and making a plan of where they're going to go once the renovations have been done, you're still working around maybe 15 or 20 people to get that stuff in, and then directing people, because I can point really well and direct really well. You put that over there, oh yes, please, because I can get very task focused. So the please mostly is remembered. So it's a very different situation, and I have really thoroughly enjoyed it because of the people that I work with, the passion of the people that I've worked with, and also the bravery and the courage of the homeowners, because that's kind of a big deal to open your door and say, hey, let's just put the spotlight on all the stuff that I feel I'm doing wrong.
Yeah.
And that's, it's a lot more scrutiny than the average person when you as a professional organizer knock on the door and say, hi, Jane, I've come to help.
Yeah. It's not broadcast to the whole TV, is it?
No, and generally people don't want that. So you turn up with a camera crew behind you, no matter how lovely the camera crew is, they would not be happy. I haven't done it yet. Could be a new kind of TV show.
And even just imagine taking everything out of everyone's house, as much as you'd love to do that sometimes, like you just don't. And that must be such a huge amount of work and so confronting for the families as well.
Oh, it is. And I guess too, the other thing that's a huge difference is when we as professional organisers go into our clients' homes, there's been a fair amount of prep. So we've asked some questions on the phone. We've explained as well as we can in a variety of ways of what it is that we're going to do as professional organisers. And we may even on that first visit decide where to start. When you go into a home for the TV show, there's a lot of prep work that's already done. So the homeowners know what areas are going to be done. They are fully vetted, I guess is the best way to do it. And it's not the same way for us going in as solo businesses or maybe with one or two staff members directing in that way. So you turn up on the TV show knowing what you're going to do, and the homeowners have been fully prepped. They know the stages, they know where they're going to be and on what day they're going to be there. So there's a certain amount, well, I say certain, there's a lot of trust that they put into Space Invaders or whatever TV show there is. And so for us on the show, we have to be true to our word. So if we say something's going to get done or something is not going to get done, we need to make sure that that happens. So that requires a huge amount of management.
And did you have input with the actual family yourself? Or
yes,
you did
a lot. Yeah.
Oh, that would have been great.
Yeah. So we get to know them. I
have you got a favorite and favorite job?
Yeah. there's a few standout ones, and I think one of the most enjoyable ones were a couple of guys, Luke and David. I really should have looked this up. Sorry. No,
I'm just throwing you an extra question.
Yeah, no, if they're listening, you're so important to me. They had a really interesting story, and walking into the home, it was very eclectic style. There was a lot of English memorabilia on the walls, and one of the guys was a scout, and my father was a King Scout, the last King Scout, and I really, really enjoyed that. And now all of them are flooding in, and I'm thinking, gosh, actually, they're all my favorite. They were a standout. And I think actually possibly the very first episode, so season 1, episode 1 of Space Invaders, And I'm trying to think of something sensible to say. I think there were so many things. They were brilliant homeowners, absolutely lovely homeowners, but also the excitement of working in this new team, establishing, you know, who's doing what, and starting to create that shorthand that you get when you've worked with people for a while. And just having those people back together, because a lot of us have worked together on the living room.
Oh, yes. Yep.
So, I've really enjoyed it. It's been an absolute blast. But now it's time for something new.
Something new. Oh,
Yeah.
So then maybe just take us back in
Sure.
organising, some tips on why and how do people find themselves disorganised and in clutter?
So many reasons. I'm going to talk about this, I think, a little differently, because it was something that has meant so much to me to assist me to get organised. And I tell this to clients, and I tell this to professional organisers as well. When you're a homeowner and you feel disorganised and everything's out of control and everything's overwhelmed and you find it difficult to prioritise because everything's important, which actually means nothing is important, but it's so emotional. And a way to think of it as a homeowner is, instead of it being a home, think of it like a department shop. So think of it like David Jones, and that you're the concierge, you're the information person. So what's a logical place? You know, if somebody came up to your front desk and asked you where the socks are, where is a logical place to keep socks? And again, if anybody organised is listening to this, you know, that's a ridiculous thing to say, but from someone who is very disorganised and they're not able to keep up with the washing and everything feels like they're walking in treacle and it's difficult and they feel useless and hopeless, start thinking of it in a different way. It doesn't mean that you're going to throw everything away, because, you know, an empty department store is useless. It's not no help to anyone. And you want your house and your belongings to be a home and a sanctuary. So if you think of it in a different way and try and take that emotion out, the decisions on where to put things and the volume of those things becomes a lot easier to manage.
Definitely. It is, isn't it? Yes, I love that, the department store. And I just think of the client I've just come from, and we have literally set up a department store in
Oh,
her
really?
home, like not really, but just in her back area, going through boxes and boxes and boxes of things that were in her garage. It's taken, what are we at now, 8 months now, and just,
oh, wow,
you know, plodding along, you know, 2 hours a week, and setting up all the clear boxes with all the things. Like today, we just saw all of her school books, like notes, stories, but that was in a mix of all sorts of things. So it was really nice to be able to now say, here's the department store of all of your memories.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
And then when you've got all that together, then you can be much more discerning on what to keep, because I think especially when you are a little neurospicy, you do have the ADHD, it's like, well, I know there's something somewhere. And that's why I really enjoy doing whole home organising. And that's where my bliss is, going into a client's home and doing the whole thing, because there's nothing lurking about in a garage or a spare room or in the roof or, you know, in a garage underneath. Everything's dealt with. And the joy and relief, and it's an interesting thing, the joy and the relief for the client, some is immediately available to them. I've done the job. But I think it's only about 40%, because it's going to take them at least a year to rely on the fact that everything is done, and to not have the second thought of, oh, I won't put that away because I'll never find it again. Well, hang on. Let's take a deep breath. I know that I've got a space for that. I'm going to follow through on this, and I'm just going to trust in the work that I've done. So, you know, that getting out of those panicky, overwhelming habits takes a long time. The relief is immediate, but only a portion of that relief. It takes a long time to get on top of that.
It does, doesn't it? And one of the things that I found really useful for this particular client are those QR codes that we put on each of the boxes. So we used a label, but we also have added the QR code. So on her phone now, she just searches whatever it is, craft. She's lots of craft searches, and she's like, I know where it is. It's in the box. There's a photo of the box in the room, and she's like, I just love this. So it's actually motivated her to continue the process.
Brilliant.
Now she knows that she can find anything she wants anywhere in her house.
And you've obviously handled that really well. Like, you've managed that situation really well, because she's had the trust to understand and believe that you know what you're talking about, and you've had the commitment to her to make sure that she does understand, they understand how to go about it, and then trusting in that process. So nice job.
Oh, thank you. So I have one last question, because you just touched on it. So neurospicy. So what do you think the benefits of hiring a neurodivergent professional organizer is then?
Oh, so many.
We're a little bit biased, aren't we?
Oh, look, only about 90%. We notice details, and I say that's a collective royal we notice details that other people don't. So I will notice patterns, routines. So hiring somebody with a touch of neurospiciness, you'll often get very creative ways to solve problems. So there is not one way to do something. And certainly as an organizer walking in saying there's only one way and this is the only way to deal with it, not terribly helpful for the person at the receiving end of that. So there are lots of different ways that we can provide solutions for things that aren't necessarily run-of-the-mill. And certainly, oh dear, I'm not going to like this, they're not necessarily Instagram worthy, but that doesn't matter. The important thing is that it works and it can be repeated and it's consistent. So yeah, it's neurospicy all the way. And I haven't met an ADHD person that has run out of energy yet.
No. Definitely not. That's probably, and I have to be careful when I go into clients, because I am really, yay. So I love when they share that they're actually ADHD. I'm like, oh, we can get so much done in 2 hours. That we probably, it would have otherwise been maybe 4 hours with someone else, because they just pick up that energy and you keep going and you body double really well. Yes.
Yeah, that is another podcast that you must do on body double.
I should.
It's such a good topic for people that don't know about it. So please find someone that's a specialist and talk to them.
Oh, thank you so much, Sarah, for your time. How can people connect with you and find you?
Probably the best way on Instagram. So Sarah Cottman _Organiser with an S. It's spelt properly for those of you listening outside of Australia, UK and New Zealand. That is an S, not a Z. Oh gosh, sorry, just showed my heritage. So I post on there most days. I share my walk photos with the dog, with the hopes to inspire people to get out and have a walk and to exercise their mind as well as their body.
And what about the website then? What's the best
website? Same thing, sarahcottman.com. And from there, you can get into the organising website, you can get into the training website, and you can also find a bit about if you want to have me speak somewhere, because I can speak till midnight.
Oh, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom and your time with us today.
Thanks so much, Narelle. Thoroughly enjoyed it.